The New Testament is a Swindle, Part 3, by Humongous. Quote, I actually resent the fact that I'm going to get judged someday. That doesn't even make any sense. It's like, dude, you made me. So this is your fuck up, all right? Let's not try to turn this around on me. Unquote. Bill Burr. Religion is more bizarre than being allergic to corn and thus never eating it, but one day finding kernels of it in your stool. How does a character, in this case Jesus Christ, claim to be dying for your salvation one minute and tossing out a quote like that below the next? Quote, do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Unquote. And how about this little gem from our purported Savior? Quote, anyone who loves his father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Unquote. Well, that doesn't sound at all like the demented ramblings of a paranoid cult leader bent on control. What about this timeless classic, once again supposedly from Big Daddy Christ? Quote, for God said, honor your father and mother, and anyone who curses his father or mother must be put to death. Unquote. Like an abusive husband, the hits just keep on coming, don't they? The New Testament is so replete with insanity, there are only two options. One, either people calling themselves Christians and professing to have read this book are lying, and isn't lying one of those many sins Christ hates? Or two, Christians have pored over this blatant lunacy and believe it, which would mean they themselves are lunatics. If some random person attested he spent 72 hours inside a giant fish and lived to talk about it, would you believe him? No fucking way. Yet you're cool with Jesus babbling that, quote, for as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Unquote. The New Testament appears more full of shit than a plugged-up toilet. I'm not opposed to anybody believing what they want. What sticks in my craw is adherence to ideologies like religion that have a history of mass murder and torture. If you want to follow unhinged, innocuous philosophies, go for it. When you support dogmas that separate and slaughter people, don't expect me to remain silent. Continuing our trip through the lamest story ever sold, let's stop at close your eyes and throw a dart. You're bound to hit something ridiculous. The annoying fact Jesus continually spoke in parables. Allegedly, he almost refused to do otherwise. If you met someone on the street, asked for directions, and he spouted off irritating fables, wouldn't you want to crucify him too? Here's an example. Hey, how's it going? Nice robes. I'm lost and my GPS isn't working. Can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Sure. Maybe in a lower rent district. Yet not one of them will fall to the ground, apart from the will of your father. What the fuck's my dad got to do with? And even the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So I'm going bald, douchebag. What if I get out of this car and give you a taste of my hairless fist? So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. At that point, the ass-kicking would probably commence. The above are continuous quotes from Jesus, via Matty 10:29 through 10:31. Because they make less sense than opening a shaved ice stand in the Arctic, If you hadn't read them in the Bible, you might have assumed they were rambled off by an escaped mental patient. Speaking of dubious dialogue, why is Jesus constantly prefacing his pronouncements with the phrase, quote, "I tell you the truth," unquote? If someone continuously informed you they were being honest, to the point it became aggravating, wouldn't you deduce they were a liar? When you converse with somebody, it's just assumed you're being candid. Having to assure people such is the case once seems sketchy enough. Dozens of times, and you deservedly lose credibility. Example 1. Quote, "I tell you the truth, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town," unquote. Example 2. "I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes," unquote. Example 3. "I tell you the truth, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven," unquote. Let's get loose and see what bizarre notions this book, which outsells any other, has folks all a-Twitter. In Matthew 15:32, Jesus asserts, quote, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to their dogs," unquote. Sure it is. What if the kids are full or insanely fat and the dogs are starving to death? This JC quote never fails to warm one's heart. Quote, "If your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell," unquote. So we're no longer loosing? The above is proof the words of Jesus Christ were written by mortal men. An omniscient deity would know human physiology and be aware of the fact nobody's eyes nor hands cause them to do anything. Whatever action these body parts engage in are determined by the brain. Hence, if you want to amputate appendages that cause you to sin, you have to start and end with the head, where the brain is located. This is a physical fact people existing between 1700 and 2000 years ago would probably not have known. Additionally, if you've sinned, what's the point in chopping your hand off or pulling your eye out? You've already transgressed. No reset button. Now, just to make matters 10 trillion times worse, you're going to excruciatingly remove one of your crucial body parts? Moreover, how does cutting off your hand pardon you of your sin? The obvious answer is, it doesn't. You've still perpetrated whatever act Jesus finds so deplorable. Now you're going to go through the rest of your life with one hand and one eye? What the fuck's the matter with you? Do you hate yourself? Imagine the number of idiots who have taken this parable literally. Boston Corbett, the man who killed John Wilkes Booth, cut off his own testicles with scissors due to the above Jesus quote from Matthew 5:29. Corbett had been so enticed by prostitutes, he was fearful his desires would cause him to sin, and thus self-surgically amputated his own huevos to appease JC. For more information regarding this, one of innumerable outlandish historical footnotes, feel free to peruse the Unraveled 2 When the Fabric of Reality Rips to Shreds blog. If you're of the mindset the above self-mutilation is an isolated case, guess again. The number of folks who've hacked off their own body parts because Christ told them to do so has got to be prodigious. An acquaintance, an emergency medical technician, informed me he responded to a call at a church one day. Arriving on scene, He followed a copious trail of blood that led him to a man whose right arm had been amputated at the elbow. The injured individual was holding his severed limb with his remaining hand. Across the room, a circular saw, dripping in hunks of flesh and crimson bodily fluid, now lay dormant. According to the victim, who was strangely cognizant, he'd cut off his arm after Jesus told him to do so. A brainwashing casualty of Matty 5:29? At that point, who cares? You're suddenly minus a major body part with only yourself to blame. Whether you believe Jesus told you to perpetrate this mutilation in some fucked up gospel or via voices in your head, your existence is now adversely changed.